Are you looking for a film about how much could go wrong if you just want to make a potato farm? Well, I've got the movie for you. We are going to be diving into the promised land right now.
Welcome to the Light, Camera, Rant Podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Lights Camera Review. As mentioned, we are going to be looking at The Promised Land. This is our very first Danish film review, and this film is only 2 hours and 17 minutes long. It had a budget of $8 million. Currently right now, it's made $1 million at the box office. It's won 8 awards, and currently right now, it's currently showing in Australia. I would like to thank you very much to Studio Canal for giving me the tickets to go see this film. And this is a film that's very different to what we usually review here on this channel. We've done horror films, we've done comedies, superhero films, but this is very different and my first Danish film review. Now this film it's dark, it's sad, it's happy, it's a little bit of mixed emotions all the way through. And you're probably saying, Lee, is it really, at the bottom of it, is it really just how much can go wrong with a guy just wanting to farm? Essentially, yes, but it is told in a very great way. And this film was shot in Germany, it was shot in Sweden and Czech Republic as well. So the countryside, the views, the settings is fantastic just to watch, to see. You know, because obviously me being in Australia, we don't have these type of views that we do have. Obviously, our country is not as old as these other countries, so it's great seeing these settings. Now, this film, let's go to the plot first. Let's do a quick recap on this entire film. So if you haven't seen it already, spoilers, left, right, and center. So go watch this film, come back, and let's dive in. So the main character is Mads Mikkelsen's character is Ludvig. He's a retired army police officer. He's just done 25 years of service. He's retired, and what he wants to do is he wants to farm. He wants to get a noble recognition and a manor. So what he decides to do, he goes to the king's court and says, I want to go farm on this land. If I can provide food and sustenance and grow something, then I want all these deeds and everything else in between. Which the king court's like, sure, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to grow anything, but what the hell? Unfortunately, he doesn't actually get to meet the king, only the king's court, which all think he's an absolute joke. So he goes out to this barren wasteland where everyone pretty much along the way is telling him, you can't grow. Why the hell are you going out there? And they've said to him that if you ever grow just a little bit, then we'll send settlers and everything to all help you and be able to grow. Now, as Matt Ludwig goes out there, he does unfortunately meet a character called Frederik. Now, Frederik is a spoiled little brat that we get to see is basically a dick. Nobody likes him. He is trying to marry his cousin Adele. And he basically wants this barren wasteland because he wants to be the land owner. Because obviously in this very particular time, land ownership is very high and it's how you get your nobility around in this area. And he doesn't like it. He's telling the fact that you can't grow on my land. Why are you going here? And basically the amount of times you hear Ludwig go, it's the king's land. It's the king's land. Which every time he says this, Frederik just gets a little bit more annoyed. So what Frederik does is he makes sure the fact he can't get any help. No one's going to help him. He does everything in his power this entire film. He is the villain of the movie. Now Ludwig is trying his hardest to try and grow, and obviously nobody knows what he's going to grow until we find out that he's going to be growing potatoes. Because potatoes, you can basically almost grow them anywhere. The only thing that they don't like is frostbite, which I learned something while watching this movie. I was a bit like, never knew that, but alrighty. It's good to know that if I ever want to grow anything or farm anything, potatoes is pretty much a safe bet. So what he does is Ludwig goes into town. He meets this pastor who's going to help him. It's two main characters and Joseph. Now this film is based on a book which is called The Captain and Anne Barbara by Edil Jansen. It came out in 2020. So this is what the stem this film's on, and the other main character we meet is Anne. So the husband and wife do help Ludwig until the point where Ludwig gets invited to a party. He's very happy about this party. Everything's going well, which is at Frederik's house because Frederik invites him. Where unfortunately he has caught Joseph, which unfortunately, how can I put this? Johnson he gets a very timely end, unfortunately. Timely end in a sense of way he boils over, if you will. It's not really a pretty sight. Johnson he unfortunately gets captured, put in this box, and they pour boiling water on him again and again. It's a very unsettling scene. And there's a whole party there and they're all watching it. It's just unsettling to watch. So Johnson's getting all this poured onto him, and unfortunately he kills him. Well, unfortunately kills him because Frederik wants to kill him because they were originally working for Frederik, but they were on the run. So Ludwig takes his buddy back to the farm, where he's trying to help, where unfortunately Anne discovers his body, and that becomes a really sad scene. Now, why this is all going on, there's a little girl called Anime. She's a little girl, she's lovely, but she's Romanian, and she obviously has this group of travelers, which you can tell that, they're not part of the social society, and they're basically outcasts. And they said they will help him. They will help Ludwig because he wants to help them, and he's willing to pay them. So he's using them. However, Frederik gets more in hands, helps them, and then they leave as well because he makes it more difficult. Now, in the time, it becomes, after they leave, the little Anime stays, and they become an unofficial family. And at the same time, Anna and Ludwig basically start a relationship together. Now, after months and months and months and months and months of this going back and forth, Frederik tries to pay them off. He tries other things. They finally do grow these potatoes in the land, which he sends back to the king's court. They're really happy. They're very surprised and shocked. I'm like, holy shit, he actually did it. They couldn't believe it. The king does rock up in the background and says, whoever that is, give him more stuff, send him settlers, get the ball going, and let's do this. So they say that. Settlers do rock up. Ludwig's really happy. He's like, oh my God, it's happening. But the settlers don't like Anime. They don't like her because she's Romanian and she's different. And they say that, she's going to bring bad tidings. Things are going to go wrong. Things do go wrong because Frederik happens to also hire convicts and murderers to go kill their horses and also kill 2 innocent people, which doesn't go very well at all. Now, again, at the same time when this is going on, Ludwig is also not in a relationship. Until he meets Anne. But between those 2 points, he does meet Adele, which I mentioned Frederik wants to marry her. He does fall in love with her at the same time and said, if you are able to become a noble, I'll come and marry you. Well, Frederik finds out and really doesn't like that at all and just adds a little spice on this whole thing even more. So what happens is Ludwig finds out who's his other murderers. He unfortunately sends Anime away to go live somewhere else, which is a really sad scene because, they've just become really close and his sole purpose, his sole mindset is to become a noble person and get the recognition. That's what he really wants. And he's willing to do anything to it. And Anne as well, she doesn't like it. She leaves him after he also, before they become sexually entwined, also does treat her like a housemaid. Sends her away. It's a really sad scene. I was just watching going, oh, it's really mean. I hope she doesn't die. She doesn't die. That's a spoiler. She doesn't die. So don't worry about that. So what he does is that Ludwig gets a crew together and goes to take out these murderers. And then he does find them, tracks them down because of his military service. Fortunately, the technicality with one of those people was also a soldier. And because he's killed him, there's a witness. One guy got away and told Frederik that he gets taken up by the court. And he gets captured and he is almost killed by Frederik. Because he gets taken to his dungeon or the cage where Johnson's also died. Takes him there, and then Anne has a plot on how to kill Frederik, which poisons him and cuts his stomach and castrates him, which I was like, ooh, that's a bit painful, but understandable because of the type of guy he is. And this guy's also unhinged. He kills one of Adele's maids very quickly. He just doesn't happy. He was like, grabs the maid. He's like, you know what? If you don't love me, right through a window and drops her and goes, it's just another day. So he deserves it. And goes to prison. Because Frederik's dead, it's all revelation of what's come forward. So Ludwig is able to go back to the farm and farm together, but the settlers are gone. And he goes back and gets Anne, which is beautiful. She comes back and she lives with him. Unfortunately, Anne's gone to female prison. So, and then what happens at the end of the story is that the story skips 7 years ahead in time, where he's growing, they're fine. He finally gets his noble, and he finally gets that certificate saying, yeah, you did it. You have finally done it. Here you go. And there's better be 500 people better to rock up and help you. Anime goes away. She falls in love with another Romanian family, and she leaves him. Nothing bad. He accepts it, and she goes. But Mads Mikkelsen's character is still, Ludwig is still just a little bit confused because he tried multiple times to get Anne out of prison, which is unsuccessful. But they find out that she's being transferred to another location, a location that's a lot worse and mostly will lead to her death. So after this entire thing, he leaves the farm, loses his nobility, loses his right just to break Anne free from the prison, and they go right off and not a sunset, but they're about to go right off and go live near the sea, which she's always wanted to do, which is what she wanted to do with her previous husband. Now, that's a recap of this story. Now, not any point in this film does it feel slow or feel stagnant. The beats on the film feel very, not fast-paced, but just enough. And I was very invested for this film, especially when it's something I don't usually watch. So, the best way I could recommend it, if you're looking for a period piece film that you're going to watch on Saturday night, and if you something that's sad, heart pumping, dark, a little bit all mixed in between, and you're also a big fan of Mads Mikkelsen's character, this is what you need to be watching. I believe all the awards that have gone, the cinematography, the setting, the acting, all together is well deserved for this film. I was very surprised it cost $8 million to make, but then again, inflation and everything else in between. It should make a lot more than the box office. And besides myself, I can see there are a lot of people that I do speak to. The film is very favorable with a lot of people. Now, just watching it, just getting sucked into a different thing. For me, watching a film that has no CGI, it's not world ending. There's no evil demons. There's not a horror film. It's all good period. I cannot tell you the last time I watched a period piece film, if you will. I can't remember the last one, but this just hits all the right points, the pacing, everything else in between. So I highly recommend this film. I've also mentioned in my letterbox as well that I would say to go watch this. Now, is this a film that you're going to go back and watch? I think so. I believe that the quality of this film, you'll go back and watch this again. Maybe one more time, but not again and again and again, as you would, depending on the type of movie. But there's definitely something I would say go watch the movies. Go pick up this film. It is well worth the price of the ticket to go see this film. But, if these tickets cost, which these were like 1 shilling, if you will, when this film set, but it's very different. And Mads Mikkelsen carries the film extremely well. He is a great actor and does that. And all the supporting cast. And I said multiple times, you're like, yeah, oh my God, yeah, oh my God. Just for how things like he wins, he loses, he wins, loses. And it's just a guy who just wants to build a farm and just have a house. But so much happens to him. He falls in love, technically twice. He has a child, the child leaves him. And then we've got basically Frederik, who's just a massive dick about the entire thing. He's like, how dare you? How dare you? Build on my land, which is not even his land, and the entire thing, it's the king's land. But highly recommend this film. Go check it out, and if you have seen it, let me know in the comments what you hate, what you dislike. What did you think? I didn't have any pain points with this film. There was nothing bad, but yeah, as always, Thank you for tuning in for this episode. And until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, happy ranting.